So it's first of all, it's unfair really to compare Taylor Hall and Jack Drury. But since Rantanen and Necas are almost the switch there, as much as we love Martin Necas, Rantanen is the better overall player.
Absolutely.
Right? Although they are enjoying Martin Necas, watching Martin Necas play now 3 games in Colorado. They really are. So and he had two more assists last night. Jack Drury had goals in 2 straight games. Whoa!
Wow, look at him.
And but Colorado lost. Anyway, so with Drury part of that deal and Hall coming in, it would be natural to go, well, Hall is the replacement for Drury. They play 2 different positions. They have 2 entirely different roles. But to address the larger point that Braun was asking about is, reason to be over the moon about this. And I just want to talk about 2 very quick things. The first is that while he is 33 and he's not nearly the player that was the first overall pick by Edmonton in 2011, and even the player that won the Hart Trophy, the league's MVP in 18.
Yeah.
He's not that guy. He is an offensive, creative force. And in the right situation, with the right team, he can still be a really impactful player.
And it feels like he's vibing really well with the guys, too.
Hard to tell vibing. I mean, seriously, I think it's hard to tell all of these things, but I will say this.
He's apparently already nicknamed Jackson Blake.
Well,
Blakey.
that was Rantanen.
That was
Rantanen did that.
Okay.
Everybody's got a nickname. Like, no joke.
Yeah.
I've got one. Like, no reason for me to have one, but I've got. Anyway, Hall does look like he has clicked with Svechnikov and Kotkaniemi. But what he is bringing is 14 years of NHL experience and a whole bunch of want to. If you go back to 2006, Carolina added a lot of players who had never won a Stanley Cup, but had talent. Matt Cullen hadn't won a Stanley Cup. Ray Whitney had not won a Stanley Cup. Brett Hedican, although he had already been there from 2002. A lot of players who had not won a Stanley Cup. And I don't want to get too far ahead because a lot has to go right for Carolina to even be in that position. But Taylor Hall, if you look at Carolina's 3 scoring lines right now, how Hall makes the Kotkaniemi, Svechnikov, fills that out, is it takes them to another place offensively because Hall has that in him. And you add this, one of the things he said about the trade, because he was with Chicago, and Chicago is like the 3rd worst team in the league.
Not ideal.
While he didn't hate it there, he found it hard to self-motivate every day. Because when you're not playing, when the outcome of games don't matter, it's more difficult for players like Taylor Hall, who was on the Boston Bruins team that set the record for the most points earned in a regular season. Now, they did lose in the first round of the playoffs. But still, for 82 games, they were a machine, and Hall, while not like, one of the driving forces of it, he was a good player for them. So now he's in Chicago where they're at the bottom of the standings, and it's hard to basically manufacture reasons why winning this game matters. You're not coming back. You're not a playoff team. And these guys at this point in their careers are about how can I win? How can I play meaningful games? Well, Friday, he was given that opportunity as the Blackhawks included him in the trade that also laundered half of Mikko Rantanen's contract. And now you get a player who has every single day when you walk into your practice rink, workout facility. Like the Canes are off today. Right? They're taking today off, and I think there's some team function tonight at whether it's Lenovo Center or someplace else. I was just going by Rod Brind'amour's post-game speech yesterday. Hall has all the motivation he wants because this is a team that, I mean, they're as good as anybody in the East. Things still have to go right. Fredrik Andersen, who was amazing last night.
Oh my gosh, he was so good.
They still have to keep him healthy. But Hall, in some ways, more than Rantanen. I'm not saying that Hall is better or will be better here than Rantanen. Rantanen is going to be super productive, and it's going to benefit Aho, and as long as Jackson Blake stays on that line, him. But Taylor Hall is going to make Andrei Svechnikov better. He's going to make Jesperi Kotkaniemi better. He's going to make that team more offensively dangerous. He's playing in his own end, too. Also gets to the front of the net. He's a big body. Suddenly, it's a big team.
He's smart with the puck.
Oh, my gosh. There's so many good things about it. But it just makes them deeper.
Oh, yeah. He elevates that line big time. Big time.
Yeah.
You can see it in Svetch, too. I felt
absolutely.
like he was just vibrating with, like, enthusiasm.
Yeah, last night was great on a ton of levels. So this is still the criticism you get. Hurricanes don't have good enough goaltending. Well, you could be right. I'm not saying that it is definite because there are still some variables at play. But there are now 31 games remaining. So they need to negotiate the next 2 months. And by the way, we only have 5 games till we take a 2-week break.
Yeah.
Right? It's the Blackhawks tomorrow. The return of Teuvo Teravainen. It's going to be an emotional night. Not for Teuvo, because he does not show emotion ever.
No.
But for a lot of other people, it'll probably be more emotional to the guys on the Hurricanes bench than it will be to Teuvo Teravainen.
Teuvo's probably so confused when he starts with the Hawks, he comes to the Canes, he goes back to the Hawks.
That's right.
All the colors are the same.
Like, he'll be a guy who'll walk into the arena and turn the wrong way.
Yes.
So... But we're going to have that. We're going to have the first games for Rantanen and Hall in front of the home crowd. I know tomorrow there's also going to be a ceremony to honor Fredrik Andersen's 500th game. I believe he picked up his 300th win. Just a lot of things going on. But the larger criticism has been about Carolina's goaltending, and this is what I said when Freddie returned. And now this goes back almost 2 weeks. And for my money, and I am not prone to hyperbole. People who know me, I am pretty measured with what I think of this team. If Andersen stays healthy, you don't have to get what you saw last night. By the way, the Rangers should have scored at least 3 goals. They got none.
Right.
And that's partly Freddie, but also partly guys in front of him.
Yes.
Jacob Slavin made a save. Didn't get credit for a save. It's just a block shot. Andrei Svechnikov, Jackson Blake, Brent Burns, Slavin a couple of times.
Yeah.
All made great plays to deny scoring chances. Shane Gostisbehere, same thing.
That donkey kick, though, on Kreider's attempt, beautiful.
So, look, Freddie got some help. But if he stays healthy, Freddie's bona fide. It's not even a question about whether or not Fredrik Andersen is good enough. It's can he stay healthy enough long enough? So, I don't know, maybe he came back too soon. All right, who knows? But if they can negotiate the next 10 days and get to the 2-week break with Fredrik Andersen healthy, he gets 2 more weeks. He can just ride the bike.
Yeah.
Can't get hurt on the stationary bike, I don't think.
Please don't.
And then it's basically the last, few days of February, and then it's about 6 weeks of the regular season left. And then we get to the playoffs, and if they can get there intact, Andersen and Kochetkov will give them the goaltending that is more than good enough to get deep into the playoffs. And if you can get into, when you look at the likely scenario of who you might play, not to go too far down the road, because you could lose to the Devils in the first round. And I think that's going to be the first round matchup unless Washington falls off. If Washington doesn't fall off, they're going to win the division, and that's fine. And then it'll be Carolina and New Jersey fighting it out in the first round series. What it'll be is the second time, third time in the last few years they played, whatever it is. It's a very frequent matchup. Carolina, New Jersey, Carolina, Boston, Carolina, New York. Those have been Carolina, the Islanders, which seems like it always happens.
I feel like we're starting to get the Islanders and the Rangers is kind of like the Bills and the Chiefs for us.
It's a little bit. It is a little bit. But I think the Devils have the better roster. That was before this deal. That was before Rantanen and Hall. I think Carolina can match them in every place except maybe the middle of the ice, where I think I don't know. I don't even know if New Jersey has the edge anymore there because of the way Stahl has played. Regardless, I'm not going to go through all of that out loud. It's like doing math on the radio. I give Carolina as good a chance as anybody to come out of the East.
Yes.
And that's what this trade looks like it has done. And the return of Andersen, they still need to stay healthy on the back end. It's not just in goal. They need to stay healthy on the blue line. I actually liked Riley Stillman last night. I wonder if Riley Stillman isn't part of the... Now, I realize basically what he did for 2 periods was fight.
Yes.
Just once, but...
It's all right. Keep it in the family.
But because it was 4-0 early, right? Because it was 4-0 early in the third, he played a lot in the third period. And I actually liked what I saw. He played with a little bit of a physical bite to him. He's not afraid. Yeah. He's played like he's almost 160 NHL games before last night. So I thought there was a lot of good about what Carolina did. And I do think that the top line, which was good last night. The top line will get better. Mm-hmm. And I think they're in pretty good shape. But now you just got to play.
Yeah.
Got to play. And
it's a slow cook.
They 5 games left before the Four Nations
I love that
tournament.
they have Stillman, too, because the Canes have lacked that physical component. And so he just fills that gap perfectly.
There's very little physical component on the blue line. Sean Walker, I think, probably leads their defense in hits. Mm-hmm. Now, Walker can play with that edge, too, which I like. All right.